Folks, welcome back to Grumpy's Great Outdoors. Going to do a quick review here of Lewis Barbecue down in Charleston, South Carolina. I was there on a Wednesday night. I was there on business, and I called earlier in the day and asked for a tour and to make a video. And they said, sure, no problem. But when I got there, they didn't realize it was me that had called earlier, and I got grouped with some folks from Australia, which was great. They were very friendly. There's just a lot of them, and it made it very kind of tough to get really good articulation and great audio. So bear with me on that. I was outnumbered 5-1 from them, so they asked a lot of questions. It was hard for me to kind of get my questions in there, so that was tough. But my guide was Justin. He did a great job, helped me very much. Once he realized who I was, he was very attentive to my needs and tried to make it as good for me as possible. I appreciated that. But regardless, the audio isn't great because of the other visitors. It was just too many people there to really get good audio for a video. But I'll show you the food that I got and talk about it a bit. Talk about the facility and their process and how they cook. It's a little different. But we'll go through all that, and I'll start with how we start in line and where I go to place my order. All right, folks, here we are looking at the pricing board on the wall behind the counter. You'll notice that they offer both sliced and chopped brisket, as well as pulled pork, pork spare ribs, turkey breast, and some sausages. They also offer macaroni and cheese, baked beans, all the usual suspects when it comes to sides. Now, a little blurb about John Lewis. He actually started in Austin, so he's a Central Texas style kind of barbecue guy. He then moved to Denver to do some competitive barbecuing, and then came back to Austin. And he did some work with Franklin Barbecue, one of the best known barbecue restaurants in Austin, and to kind of hone his craft and so forth. Before he moved to Charleston in 2015 to set up his own restaurant, which is where we're at today. Now, he owns another restaurant in Charleston called the Rancho Lewis that's more of a south of the border type of foods, things like tacos, tamales, that kind of thing. And then a third restaurant in Greenville, South Carolina, more upstate, that's also a barbecue restaurant. He's obviously very successful, and he does that because he puts out a great product. But now let's look at what I actually got that day, guys. Again, guys, the audio is so bad that I want to go ahead and do a voiceover here as well. Now, I placed my order with this young lady. She takes the order and writes it down for me, and offers me a nice bite here, which is delicious. It was really, really good. It was like a burnt end. It was very, very good. She's rereading my order to me, and then she's going to tell me that when I get my order and after I've finished eating, I can come back to her and let her know about the tour. And then she's going to send me on to the sides guy who's right beside her, and I'll go order my sides from that person. Now, all I get in regards to the sides, guys, is a single order of macaroni and cheese. I'm by myself, so I got a single order of macaroni and cheese. And I got the pickled onions because that's free. They offer the pickled onions, pickles, and bread. I didn't want all that. I just want pickled onions. So, but I want to show you, this is where they keep their pulled pork in the little heating cabinet, right? The little case right there. Putting on the scale. They'll weigh it up for me there and finish getting it there. And then she's actually cutting my ribs in the background. You see her back there with the ribs in her hand. She'll finish the ribs after he gets the pork on the tray. Weigh that up. And then what I want to show you more, so there's the ribs again. They're going to cut the ribs and weigh them. But they needed more pulled pork to put in there, so they went and got one. You'll see the person go back behind her and get out of the cabinet there a pork butt, and that's where they tear it up, and we'll get to see a little bit of that. It's just kind of neat to see them tear one open in the foil like everybody does at home, just in foil. It's just same process. Very tender. Obviously, it comes right off the bone. I will say if there's any one complaint I would have, the pulled pork wasn't pulled real well. I had a couple of really big chunks in there that I needed to pull myself, which is not a big deal, but still, it just wasn't pulled very well. So she's placing my order onto the tray, and we'll read it off to the cash register person. I got exactly 1.1 pounds of pulled pork, 1.02 pounds of beef brisket, and 2.03 pounds of pork spare ribs. So my grand total, didn't think it was too awful bad for the amount of food I got. As you can see, I got quite a bit of food. It was $132.68, but that included a $20 tip. And I tell you that just so you'll know that didn't include that wasn't the cost of all the food. There was a $20 tip in there. So nonetheless, I thought it was warranted. They did a great job, and the food was absolutely terrific. I enjoyed it. I got a great bit there. As you see on the far left, I got the pork spare ribs. In the middle bottom, I've got macaroni and cheese. The top middle, I got my pulled pork. And then the far right, of course, is the brisket. I got half a pound of point and half a pound of flat. And then you see some pickled onions up in the right-hand corner. So it was all very, very good. Like I said, the pulled pork had some big chunks in it, which is not the end of the world, guys. I'm not complaining. It's just if there was something to pick, that would be it. But the ribs were really good, very meaty. I appreciated them as well. So I thought it was really, really good. I was really pleased with everything. So now we'll start the tour, and again, I'll do a voiceover there as well because it gets really, really loud in there. So here goes the tour. All right, folks, as we get started here on the tour, you'll see my Australian friends there. And they're asking about the process. And of course, he's explaining their process, which is a little different than what I'm used to. They do a 9-hour cook at 150 degrees in an attempt to get as much smoke on the meat as they can get. And then the second 9 hours are doing it 300 degrees to finish them. They will then let them rest for 5 hours. Now, I asked about what kind of wood they use, and they use red and white oak, not post oak. Probably just because what they can source. They use a local wood company for their wood source. And I asked them where they get their briskets. They get them from Cisco. They do about 100 a day or 1,000,000 pounds a year, and there's just no local farm that could actually supply them what they needed. So they go through Cisco and get their prime grade, which is fantastic. And looking around here, and they have 4,000-gallon smokers. I'll let Justin in a few minutes explain to y'all guys a clip that I use his audio for, explain how they get their smokers and so forth, a little more about that. But now he realizes that I'm there and that I'm the guy that called earlier, and he asked me about what kind of questions I have. And that's when we talk a little bit more about wood, red and white oak, and his local uses. He wants to show me the firebox too. We'll see that here in a second. He really wants to show me the firebox. This is where he realizes it's me that I'd called earlier and decided to do a video. So he's very cordial. He tries to help me very much. And he wants to show me the firebox. We're talking now about the wood, where to get it from and that kind of thing. So then he'll take me to the wood. Now, when we get to the wood, the firebox, he kind of explains to me too how their process goes when they finish. So they will actually wrap in butcher paper, and those over to the right are what they're resting. You see on the right behind that woman right there, there's a resting rack of briskets right there, resting in the open, and that's how they do rest them. They will smoke them completely done till they get 100% done. Then they'll wrap them. When they wrap them with butcher paper and with clarified butter, not with tallow. They use clarified butter, which is a little different too. Doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just something different. I'd never, I hadn't had anybody say that before, that they use clarified butter, not butcher paper. So, or not tallow, excuse me. But they do wrap in butcher paper when they're done. There's the firebox on one of their smokers. Pretty good size. Pretty good size firebox. And a pretty good size fire for 150 degrees. It must be really venting it properly. So to keep it that low. These have been on about 6 hours at this point. So they've been in 6 hours at 150 degrees. And that's what he's trying to do. So that's what he said. They're 5-hour rest, and they leave them in the open like that. So now I'll let Justin explain to you where the smokers came from. It's a really good story.
1,000-gallon?
Yeah, so they were old 1,000-gallon propane tanks that John and his dad found like a scrapyard. Yeah.
Same way here does, right?
And so they found them, repurposed them, and then built the
So
smoker.
1,000-gallon, all right? All in one?
Yeah.
1,000-gallon.
Yeah, they built them out in Texas and shipped them out here.
Cool. Was there, you active, 4 active? All 4 active?
Usually we have 3 going, and then one's being like clean and used for like sausages and other things like that. Yeah. So yeah, usually we got about 3 of them always in rotation,
Right.
and then one they don't use, so that way they can clean that one that day. So every day one of them's getting cleaned, 3 of them are getting used. And then we have one that we try to keep kind of low, because that's what we smoke like our sausages and stuff on. Sure. So we don't want it to be like too high or anything.
Makes sense.
So yeah, usually the one they clean that day ends up being like the sausage one for the rest of the night.
Makes sense.
Speaking of sausage, that's their sausage coming off the smoker now. It's smoked somewhere else, if I understood correctly, and it comes over here for warming up or to keep warm right before serving. So, fantastic looking sausage. I wish I'd gotten some, but man, by yourself, you can only order so much and only eat so much. So, did not get any, but it was really good looking sausage. Well, folks, that wraps up our tour and review of Lewis Barbecue. Sorry again for the audio and video. It was a little bit rough at times, I realize, and I apologize for that. It's the best I could do in the circumstances. The food itself was fantastic. If you guys get a chance to go, please do. You've got 2 choices now, Charleston, South Carolina, as well as upstate in Greenville. I think you'll have a wonderful time and a good experience with all of it. I love all the different foods that I got, being the pork barbecue, the ribs, and the brisket, of course, all really good. The macaroni and cheese was good. So that's all I can speak to is what I had, but what I had was fantastic. So until I see you next time, guys, I'll meet you at the smoker.